So your credit's bunk, you didn't pay some stuff a few years back, and you don't know how to get it to be any good. Well, today I'm going to go over credit repair. My name is Matt Coach. I made this YouTube channel to share the tips, tricks, and mistakes on my way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. And today it is Tips and Tricks Tuesday. I'm going to go over credit repair, the general idea of the process, what kind of it's going through, is it legal or not, how different companies, different people are allowed to do these things, and what you are and are not allowed to dispute on your report. Or at least what you are and what you should and shouldn't dispute on your report. All right, well, without further ado, let's get after it. Okay, credit repair and how credit repair works. So what is credit repair? Credit repair is the process of rebuilding all the negatives from your credit report to no longer report. So you're kind of up into that spot where you can go and get yourself more credit, start building your profile for reals. This is who's kind of in this spot. If you have collections, if you have late payments or bankruptcies on your report, you're going to go through credit repair to fix those kind of things off your report. But it also can be useful to some other people. There are tricks here as well to get things like inquiries off your report. If you are trying to shop a mortgage or an auto loan or something like that, then you get 4 or 5 inquiries and now you can't get credit anymore. Well, this is something that you can look into and know the skills of. There's solutions to that as well. So I'm going to start with how can you do this. The FCRA, or Fair Credit Reporting Act, essentially that just allows you to report anything on your credit report and dispute it. So you basically have the legal right to dispute things on your credit report that you believe to be false. The lenders are actually the one right here. 30 days typically to respond to disputes. The lenders have the onus of proof. So if you dispute something and say, hey, this account does not belong to me, it's actually on the lenders to prove that it does belong to you. So this is the process of basically repairing your credit, is that they're going to go through usually a few different, it usually takes a few months for this to actually work out, but they try to essentially prove that you are the one who owned that account, and that's actually on them. So they have their whole process of how they go about trying to prove that, but a lot of the times they can't, especially if it doesn't belong to you actually on your report. So yeah, that's kind of the legal side of this. What things should you dispute? If you have late payments, collections, and bankruptcies, kind of all those things should be disputed and taken off of your profile so you can build a credit report. What else? You also want to take off inquiries not attached to personal accounts. So if you can inquiry for a business-based loan, you can take that off of your credit report. But also if you are, say, shopping a mortgage or an auto loan, you may get 3, 4, or 5 inquiries on your report. And you should only have the one that's actually attached to that loan. So you can remove those other 3 or 4 inquiries saying those were not authorized. Essentially, you didn't want to get those hard pulls to show up on your credit report. You only have the one loan. So that is things that should be disputed and taken off of your credit report. Things that you shouldn't dispute. You shouldn't dispute an inquiry if it's attached to a credit card that you own, because they will close that credit card typically. And then same thing happens for if you have a personal line of credit. So both of these things, if it's essentially a revolving account where you're using it every month, what they're going to do is they're going to shut it down. You can typically take like a mortgage off your report, or an auto loan, or any kind of installment loan essentially. Those can be taken off your report typically because they've given you the money, they want you to pay it back. They don't want to not have that get paid back to them. That doesn't make a lot of sense. They could do something like call your loan, so that there's risk to that. It doesn't really happen, but you probably, if you're a normal person, don't want to go about disputing things that are attached to actual loans that are actually on your credit profile. So kind of rule of thumb is that if you didn't get money from it on your personal report, like personally, you can dispute it and take it off of your report. How do they go about repairing? So what they're going to do is they're going to look at all 3 of your credit bureaus. They're going to find all the derogatory things inside of those credit bureaus, and then they're going to dispute things that don't align. So say, your TransUnion says you live at one address, and then your Experian says you live at a different address. They're going to dispute that and say, essentially, these inquiries don't make sense. They're at different addresses. They don't make a lot of sense. They need to be removed from the report. You guys don't have matching information. And that's kind of the process of eliminating a lot of these late payments. So if you move to a whole new address, a lot of the times you can get all your previous addresses removed from your report and dispute everything that is not attached to that address, essentially. That's a pretty common way that they go about repairing somebody's credit. Then they send in letters. There are kind of the format for these letters. You'll find a lot of them. If you go and do a YouTube deep dive on credit repair, you'll find, for whatever your specific situation is, bankruptcy, late payments, collections, there's definitely formatted letters already. You shouldn't change up the format of one of these letters. Try and find one of these from a credit repair expert. I am not a credit repair expert. I don't repair people's credit for a living, so I wouldn't feel right giving you guys my letter. I just want to give you guys kind of the general idea, the general process of what goes on, so that you guys can search for yourself and find this information, either do it yourself or hire somebody else to do it. But they're gonna write a letter. They have it all perfectly formatted. They're just gonna change basically, like your name, your social security number, those dates, and then the exact specific thing that you're disputing. But they'll have, all the rest of it will be generic and the same for everybody. So then the next spot is with these 3 letters, you're also going to send in photo verification, your proof of your current address, a picture of your social security card proving that it's all you. It's doing it. This is going to be part of it, part of what you send in. You never want to wet sign anything or respond to letters or phone calls from the bureaus. So like I said, originally they have 30 days to prove that it is you, and what they're going to try and do is cross-reference your wet signature with other things, or go about calling you on the phone saying, hey, this is, so-and-so, who took out the loan with this and this, like, do you recognize these kind of payments? And they're also going to send letters saying the same kind of thing. So you don't want to basically say yes to that, get them to have a recording of you saying yes to any of those things. That's how the repair process works. Essentially, if you don't give them any information, they have very little to work with, and because they're on a time crunch, they usually just kind of have to give up on the thing. So that's how credit repair typically works. Then if you don't get responses from the bureaus, you can go to the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. You can look right up here. I'll show you guys. And what they'll have in there, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Stuff's loading a little slow, but you'll see that they'll have the ability for you to submit a complaint. Right here, there's plenty of videos on this as well, but you submit a complaint up here. They'll ask you to kind of create, your little profile. But if you're not getting reports, you essentially send all that information that I had right there, your social security, photo verification, address verification. Send all of those things with that letter to the CFPB and tell them, for each individual bureau that you have, whichever one you're complaining about, you make a complaint for each different one. Say you've done all these things, filed all these things. And that's how you go about getting something off of your report. So what is the CFPB? The CFPB is like the head honcho. It's the kind of government agency that runs through consumer credit, because all TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian are all private entities. So this is kind of the government entity. This is the kind of the big daddy that tells them all that they need to clean their stuff up. So that's who you go and you tattle on when your stuff isn't getting taken off. You can do this all through a credit repair company. Probably is going to cost you $500 to $5,000 depending on how messed up your credit profile is. Time expectations, they vary a lot. It's pretty quick to get off, like an inquiry on your report. Like I said, with having, like a mortgage loan, having a lot of those inquiries, you can get those off in like a week or two. But if you have late payments on your report or bankruptcies on your report, those can take a few months, usually the better part of a year to get off, especially a late payment on something that is still reporting to your credit. So if you have a couple late payments on a credit card that you use, that can be an issue. It's much easier for them actually to just completely close out the account and remove the whole account from your profile. So that may be something that makes sense for you depending on what your payment history is like with that account. But just understand that if you have a couple late payments on like your mortgage or something like that can take a very long time to get off of your report. But they should walk you through their whole process, everything that they need to get it all done. But just know that time expectations are not great. 6 to 12 months happens all the time for this. And then, that's it. So that is what credit repair is. Just know that you do have the ability to fix up your credit report. You can either go about it yourself, fighting for it, sending in the letters, going back and forth with them. Usually will take 3 or 4 letters before you get the stuff off. Plenty of videos on the whole process and how you fight and dispute. But if not, if you have the extra cash, I do recommend a credit repair company. I got my partner's credit fixed for $2,500, took off a collection, about 6 late payments. They're still working through the late payments. It's been 5 months, I think. But the collections come off quick. Collections, they can get off usually in like a month or two, and inquiries in a couple weeks. So those things can come off your report fairly fast, actually. It's the rest of your stuff that's going to be hard. Those late payments, those couple months of financial struggle that people go through can be the things that hurt their credit for forever. But you're not done. You can get yourself back, give yourself the better part of a year to rebuild that credit and get in your spot where you can start taking action again. All right, so hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Hopefully now you learned something that you can go about doing this. Hopefully you start your own research train on credit repair if that's a situation you're in, for either finding your own credit repair company or finding out more information on how you can do this yourself. But there you go. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of y'all's day.